Hi, it's Shenuka here,
And Ashwitha.
and we are going to take you through how we made this shot from the film Hairmageddon in Blender. I'll be showing you how I made this combined 2D and 3D background.
And I'll be showing you how we animated the girl in the scene and making it look like she's interacting with her own reflection.
To start off, this was the color key that Ashwitha made for the scene. So using that as a reference, I split the elements of the scene into layers that I will use to create some depth in the scene when I bring it into Blender. And I painted each of those layers separately on Photoshop, and I then exported each of them as PNGs with a transparent background. I then imported each of the images as planes into Blender and arranged them with a bit of space in between to create the illusion of some depth in the mirror. I then reduced the specular on all the layers so that the colors stay vibrant. I'm putting some lights into the scene. Right now, even though you can see through the alpha channel on all of these planes, the planes are still casting shadows as an entire plane. So I am setting the shadow mode of each of the planes from opaque to alpha hashed so that only the areas that are filled in cast shadows. Then going into edit mode on the plane with the mirror, I added some edges and extruded the frame. I then grabbed the bottom edges of the countertop and pulled them forward a little bit to make that also slightly 3D. And then I extruded the faces of each of the tiles. I brought the edges of the sink forward to give it a little bit of a curve. And I also added some edges to the objects on the countertop, moving and extruding them to give them a slightly more 3D shape, like what I'm doing with the bottles here. And I'm setting it to shade smooth to smoothen out the edges on the objects. Here's what it looks like with this applied to most of the objects on the counter. The objects will now be affected by the lights in the scene and make them seem slightly more 3D. And here's our hybrid 2D 3D scene. Now it's ready for Ashwitha to add in the character.
Hey guys, it's Ashwitha and I'm going to tell you how we made this animation here in the background that Shenuka just showed you. So first of all, this is a reflection in the mirror of the bathroom. So the character is actually entering from somewhere off here, and whatever you can see here in the frame is just a reflection on this mirror right here. So keeping that in mind, we had to make her turn the lights on, which is just timed well with this light here that starts flickering on, and then walk over to the mirror and wipe away some fog. So doing this meant that her hand would have to come into the foreground and then wipe away the fog that was there. So this took a lot of just timing and illusions that we had to work around with. So if you see here, and if I turn the fog on, it's just a grease pencil there that exists in between. That's that. It has its own animation as well, where we just erased a bunch of the foggy material of, you can see the negative space here, and that's just to create the illusion of the fog being wiped away. And to have an arm in the foreground, we have a completely different layer animated here. This is what it looks like. It's just a disembodied hand, and it sort of tricks you into feeling like this really is a reflection. We had to follow a bit of the curves here for the elbow. It doesn't match up perfectly now that I look at it in hindsight several months later, but that's sort of what the hand looks like right here. We did add a bit of a motion blur to it as well, which can be found here. These are the settings that we had, and we animated it as well so that it would start at a blur, focus, and then return to a blur with the hand went back into place. So this too was timed with the fog, so if you put everything together, that's what it looks like. The character comes forward and boom, she starts wiping away the fog. The scene also continues where she freaks out. She's like, oh gosh, my hair's alive, what do I do? And then looks off screen and the hand returns, but this time with a scissor. So this too had to be animated double time. If you can see here, the reflection has a scissor as well as the foreground, and they both had to be timed equally. So it's just a lot of matching keyframes really, just in case the angle is off and you can see that the reflection doesn't have what we have on the foreground. It helps sell the illusion, it helps sell what you're trying to portray. It's just a little bit of extra work to make a convincing or interesting shot here. We could have done it in a different way. We could have had it facing the actual character instead of this reflection, but we thought it would be an interesting shot to really create some interest and intrigue in the scene that was to follow after this, which is the transformation. Yeah, so I hope you guys liked the video. Take a look at Hairmageddon if you haven't already. It's on our channel, and there will be a link in the description below. Thanks for watching.